Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Silver's time to shine is now, and that's due to the excessive overspending, trillions more in care packages, rioters storming the White House, a deadly virus attacking the globe, stock market frenzy, a collapsing dollar with corrupt politicians feeding the blind, hiding the truth, all while silver, the only thing left that's true money, is not only being swept under the rug but also vanishing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. I'm really glad you clicked on this video. Today we're going to dissect some critical information. This first article is talking about the silver lining for investors. Great stuff. I skimmed through this and it covers a lot of the points that I wanted to bring to your attention. Now he starts to say, he has recently written that he's bullish on the hard currency. I like that word hard currency, by the way. And he's talking about the Blue Ripple has driven recent strength in the dollar and move up in nominal rates and therefore a pullback across precious metals. However, it is important to keep in mind that while rates move in real time, inflation does not. That is important to remember. It is hard to argue against models projecting headline inflation north of 2-3% based on the economy reopening and substantial stimulus under a Biden presidency. Now, this is going to be a very, very interesting time. And when I say that very loosely, and that's because we have to be on our toes. We're going to have to be able to adjust and adapt at the drop of a dime because we don't know what's going to happen when this amount of money gets thrown out. We don't know how it's going to affect the markets. We don't know how it's going to affect anything. We've never been in this situation before. Based on the economy reopening and substantial stimulus under a Biden presidency, this is coupled with Fed's continued commitment to keep interest rates low, sets the tape for larger negative real interest rates, the strongest indicator for outperformance in hard currencies, aka gold and silver. Just this past week, Federal Chairman Jerome Powell stated that the time to raise interest rates is no time soon. So, as I've said before and will say again, I'm not going to fight the Fed and neither should you accept what is. All we can do, we can't change that. All we can do is adjust and adapt to it. And as investors, we try to profit off every single situation, whether it's bad, good. We're investors, not gamblers. We make strategic decisions based off of the circumstances to come out on top. In a recent article, I highlighted gold and Bitcoin, the great gold versus Bitcoin currency debate, which I've covered before as well, as two hard currency assets to hold in the portfolio. While this debate has been at the forefront of investors' minds over the past few months, there is another hard currency player that serves as both a store of value and a key component in industrial applications. Enter silver, the most versatile of all precious metals, used for jewelry and silverware, electrical switches and solar panels, and chemical producing catalysts. Silver is malleable and it's everything. It's the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity, electricity, and light sensitivity. No other metal performs like silver. Now, first, let's look historically at silver's performance compared to other stores of value during periods with similar economic backdrops, and that's a great that's a great thing to compare. Great thing to compare, because gold and silver essentially move the same, but they're used for two completely different reasons, right? And if we're going to be looking forwards, gold, Bitcoin, silver, they all go against the grain. And that's why this whole Bitcoin versus gold debate is so interesting, because they're essentially, they should be categorized in the same space instead of trying to separate them. They both go against the dollar. They're both stored. You're in complete control of your wealth, right? Nobody can touch your gold unless they break down your house. Nobody can touch your Bitcoin unless they break down your door and steal your 12-word phrase out of your Exodus wallet and send it to their wallet. There's no middleman. There's no shadiness going behind the scenes. The blockchain stores every transaction publicly on a database for everyone to see. It's not like the dollar. It's decentralized. No central bank is in control. Same with silver and gold. Now, first, let's look historically at silver's performance compared to others. Now, we have some major dates to look at. Silver's been $50 twice in the last 30 or so years. Back in 1980, right? 2011, we saw $50 silver. Now, what was happening? if we look at those time periods, same type of scenario, especially in 2011, was happening. 2008 credit crisis led to $1 billion in stimulus, recession/depression. Same goes to now, except it's not $1 billion, it's $1 trillion plus a global pandemic. So, both during the 1970s, early 2000s, we observed large increases in the money supply. As a result of this, both periods saw inflation increase consistently, negative real interest rates. Gold increased by 34%, 17% year on year, and that compares to silver, which is a more exaggerated version of gold, 36% and 18% year on year. In addition, we must look at silver's value relative to gold throughout history. And this is something that I don't think the human brain could even fathom. Now, instead of reading all this, I'm just going to highlight, because I'm very aware of the gold to silver ratio, the history of it, and where it is now and what this means. It's a great tool to use to compare gold to silver, which is the better investment at this period of time, and also gives you a great indicator on which is going to be outperforming the other. Now, historically, the ratio, it's around, in today's day and age, it's around 70 to 1. If it's below 70 to 1, it's considered low. But back in biblical times, Egyptian times, it was 2.5 parts silver equals 1 part gold. It means it was 2.5 to 1. That's back when they thought silver was magical. It could purify water. It responded with other elements like no other metal. Then it was around 8 to 1. And then you see the 16 to 1, right? For hundreds of years, you can say right here, from 10 to 1, 16 to 1. That's what it was for a while, until FDR came in office in 1930, changed it from 75 to 1, or 16 to 1 to 75 to 1. That's when everything changed. He single-handedly devalued silver. For 2020 year-end, the global silver market is expected to have a surplus of north of 20 million ounces. Following this virus-related shutdowns in Peru, China, and Mexico, Peru and Mexico, they accumulate, or together they have 40% of the global silver production. Mines are reopened, new projects are revamping, and on the demand front, industrial and consumer applications were severely disrupted by reduced end product use. Now, we're going to see that change, especially in the next 5-10 years. If we look at the day-to-day, of course it's going to be disrupted. Businesses are out of, there was a lot of, blocks. There was a lot of ways that people couldn't see past the now. And what I mean by that is, and the perfect example is the vaccine. Do you remember back when Pfizer announced the vaccine, there was this huge euphoric type of hope that people had without even knowing too much the nitty-gritty details of how it works, how it's going to be distributed, how long it's going to take. And then over the next couple days, week or so, the reality hit. Same goes with this. We can't really tell when things are going to recover. We can theorize, we can try to guesstimate, but we really don't know. But we do know in the next 5 to 10 years, electric vehicles, 5G, solar panels, Joe Biden's green energy, that is going to be a staple in silver's demand. Right now, things are going to be a roller coaster. Things are going to be unstable because the economy's unstable. So we can't have any type of accurate predictions on what's happening in the here and the now. It's a roller coaster, and that's why I keep saying you have to adjust and adapt on a dime. Now, 2020 was a watershed year for clean energy. And they're talking about carbon neutral by 2060. And President Biden highlighted plans to accomplish this as well. And that's sooner than later. Silver, key to solar, electric vehicles, new electronics such as 5G, will rely heavily upon to achieve this. We need silver. Nations such as China and the U.S. have already highlighted plans to significantly increase their solar and EV capacity over the next decade. Regarding 5G, the global rollout will require the production of semiconductor chips, cabling, and micro electromechanical systems, all which are silver dependent. If 2020 taught us anything, it is that it's hard to predict whether the global aspirations of renewable energy and new technology will come to fruition as quickly as the bulls hope. However, if countries do reach their targets, the added demand for silver could range as high as 50, 100 million ounces. At the very least, the perception that silver demand will benefit from green policies will influence investor sentiment. So that's something we really have to look at. Supply and demand still the most influential factor of precious metals prices, and rightfully so, is going to push things into an undeniable and unchangeable state. You can't argue, you can't debate that. You can't debate the real numbers. What you can debate is speculation. And even like it says right here, I like how it even talks about right here, even if speculation happens, the perception that silver demand will benefit from green will still influence. So whether it's the real numbers, the rate coming out of the ground, the rate being bought up or wanted or needed, I guess, it's still going to affect the price. But even influence from speculation, people realizing that we're going to need silver, but not much silver is coming out of the ground. I just read an article earlier today. The production was up like, I think 2 or 3%. Maybe I'll cover that video later in the day, but it's not much. And we're already in the whole 7 years, because for the last 7 years, since silver hasn't done much, since the July 2016 high of $21, miners really haven't been focusing on it. It's found from byproduct. It's a bypass metal. They don't look for silver, but if they find some silver while they're looking for gold, they'll take it, but they're not looking for it. So we're already in negative territory. So to catch up and even break even, we still have to do a lot of mining. But by the time we catch up in the next 5 or so years, demand's already going to be surpassing that. So and if you don't believe me on that, then tell me why there's these huge premiums on bullion coins. It's scarce. Silver is scarce. So we have a lot of stuff to pay attention to over the next decade. Like they even said, decade. Some people are saying 3 to 5 years. This is an ongoing project. By 2060, we're talking about a long time, several decades ahead. This is not going to change, and it's only going to grow and grow, and silver is going to be needed more and more. And I don't know how. I mean, it gets harder to find every year, and that's with anything. And it's really going to change the market. It's going to change the new evolution, the revolution of not only just going green, but everything. It's going to affect Bitcoin. It's going to affect stocks. It's going to affect business. It's going to affect you and I. People that want the silver are going to be selling it to the people that need the silver. And that's why we should buy it right now while it's cheap. Think about it. Do you really think in like 20 and even 10 years, 20 years, do you really think that silver is still going to be $25? Think about that. Think about how much could happen in a decade, especially at the rate that we're advancing technologically. Do you really think that silver is still going to be $25? No. And nobody in the right mind would think that. So, I don't know. I just wanted to bring this article to light because they covered some of the very hard, undebatable facts that I like talking about. I'm a realist. I like looking at the reality. I don't like theorizing too much because that really doesn't show us much, especially with how loosely things are happening. We can make a whole video talking about theoretically what could happen, but the probability of that actually falling through in that exact scenario is very unlikely. So I like to look at what's actually happening, and this is stuff that's actually happening. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you thought this video was educational, informational, at least entertaining, make sure to smash a like button. I post daily videos. I've been posting some really, really good videos lately. Go check those out. You do not want to miss that stuff. Everything I talk about is stuff you need to know. I'm never going to tell you stuff you don't need to hear. I'm always going to highlight the main parts. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.